What's up, everybody? Charlie Marlow here. Got to jump on after this crazy and historic last 48 hours in news and politics. And I'll tell you why I haven't been on in the last 48 hours in a second. But first, let's work backwards here with the big news today, Monday, as we record here on Monday night, with Donald Trump announcing that Vance will be his running mate, his vice president, for the election coming up. You may have heard there's an election coming up. Okay, so just on the surface, first of all, I don't know a ton about Vance. I like the fact that he's from Ohio. I'm an Ohioan myself. I actually just drove back from Toledo, Ohio. That's where we were at since Thursday. So look, like the fact that he's from Ohio. Most Ohioans are pretty reasonable politically for the most part. Now, we'll get to some more things about Vance in a second. Also, I like the fact that he's young. He's like 39 years old, younger than me. He's a millennial, technically. So I think the fact that Donald Trump is double his age, good to have some young blood in there. So, look, I know a lot of people talk about the fact that he really speaks for middle class, working class folks. And so if that's the case, you'd think he can help them in states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. But also, I don't know that much about Vance, so I think, look, now he's on the big stage. You're going to see everything at the convention here this week. Hopefully there'll be debates against who? Would it be Kamala, or is it going to be somebody else if Kamala is the president? Who knows? Obviously, like everybody else, I know that Vance early on, 2016, really didn't like Trump, said a lot of bad things about Trump, then flipped. So we'll see. Is he a guy who honestly changed his mind? Is he a political opportunist? I mean, he said some really bad things. I think he called him something like cultural heroin, texted a friend and said he could be America's Hitler. So it wasn't like it was just kind of low-key criticism. We're talking big-time criticism. But he's since changed his tune, and I'm sure, look, he's already answered that. I'm sure he'll answer it a million more times as he's now in the national spotlight. So for me, we'll see on Vance again. As an Ohioan, I like that an Ohioan was chosen. I like the fact that he's young. I also think it's interesting because, look, if Trump wins, and we said this for a long time, whoever basically was his VP is clearly the front runner to be president in 2028 if Trump wins. So I think it's kind of interesting that somebody like Vance, who comes on the scene in terms of a name standpoint, like he's not as big of a name, obviously, as Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, even Vivek, right? But now Vance, if Trump wins, is going to be the front runner to be the president in 2028. And one more thing, I will say this. Vance also defeated my favorite politician going right now for Senate in Ohio, Tim Ryan. Tim Ryan is a great person, politician, and he's the type of Democrat that Democrats need to have more of, and they need to go after that type of dude and that type of voter. Just a very everyman, commonsensical, speaking to working class, speaking to people in Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, that kind of forgotten voter, Ohio. Vance beat Tim Ryan. So for that, I'm kind of always mad at Vance because Tim Ryan is the man. I think he's my wife and my favorite, at least Democrat. I think you guys know if you watch this channel, my wife likes RFK Jr. And so, good segue. And again, we're working backwards. I'm going to get to Trump assassination attempt. Obviously, pretty big news, but it was also 48 hours ago. But I haven't jumped on to talk about it for a couple of reasons. So here's also where Trump won politically today. With look, he comes out and says, especially in light of what happened, me getting shot at, RFK Jr. needs Secret Service protection. RFK Jr. has been talking about this for a long, long time, if you follow him. And of course he needed and should have had Secret Service protection. Clearly, he's one of the top 3 candidates. Clearly, I don't think we have to get into the fact that his family has some pretty poor history when it comes to assassinations. So the fact that, look, Joe Biden should have given him Secret Service protection anyway. Joe Biden is running a horrible campaign. Now, I actually think he's done a decent job as president. He's running a horrible campaign, mostly because of his age and all that. But look, so Donald Trump gets shot at, assassination attempt, And then you wait until that happens, and then Donald Trump, from a campaign standpoint, gets credit for saying, look, RFK Jr. also needs Secret Service protection, which most reasonable people thought should have happened anyway. And so Joe Biden, you allow Donald Trump to get the win there also, right? You could have given him Secret Service protection after Donald Trump gets shot at, which helps his campaign, which is crazy to talk about. But then he also gets another political win in the campaign by advocating for RFK Jr. to also get Secret Service protection. And then it happens 2 days after Trump is shot, which should have happened anyway. And it's another win for Donald Trump. So, by the way, they still need to replace Joe Biden. I don't care. People say the election's over. It doesn't matter. He still needs to be replaced. Otherwise, you're going to get waxed down ballot. You're going to lose everything. House, Senate, all that stuff. Governors, everything. Joe Biden still needs to be replaced. Okay. Now, we'll go back to the assassination attempt, which is crazy to say because it's historic. You grow up, I'm a history major, talking about the JFK assassination and learning about Abraham Lincoln and all that. And and I remember reading about Ronald Reagan being shot. I can't remember when that was. I'm guessing I was alive. I was born in 1982, but I was very, very young. But in the United States of America, to have an assassination attempt on the president is just insane to even think about and to hear about, that it's actually real and it happened. And so here's what happened, by the way. So I was in Ohio, like I said, the last, 4 days. So Saturday, we're having one of those old school days where we're in the pool. My entire mom's side, of the family, mom and dad's side, I'm saying all the cousins is what I'm saying. All the cousins are in the pool. And you can probably see I'm sunburned. We're in the pool drinking literally all day Saturday. And it was one of those fun old school days. Everybody's out there. Everybody's talking. Everybody's drinking, listening to music. Nobody has their phones on them. Nobody has their phones. So, I think I walked into the house close to 8 o'clock Eastern time. And my wife is sitting in the house with one of my sisters-in-law, I believe. I can't remember. I was drinking, like I said. And goes, Donald Trump, there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And I go, you're joking. She's like, no, seriously. So obviously go right to my phone. Look, at this point, it had happened like an hour and a half previous. And so I was going to jump on and do a video, but also I had been drinking all day. My parents' internet is super slow. And look, like, what was I going to add? And so much of the information that came out right out of the gate was wrong, by the way. And I think, look, clearly, by the way, horrible, obviously, horrible that you have an assassination attempt on a former president. Just horrible. Everybody needs to settle down. Everybody needs to chill out on the rhetoric and all that, which honestly, I don't even think is the main reason. I know a lot of people say that, but it's also, look, it's just, you have this kid who seems to be just one of these loner, depressed type dudes, bullied and all that. You take that dude, mental illness, I don't know if he does or not. I have no idea. I don't know how that works. But if you take that sad, depressed, loner dude, you give him a weapon, boom, things like this can happen. I don't even need to get into that debate. It's a lot of different reasons. It's not just the gun. It's not just the depression. It's everything. It's our political climate. It's all that crap. And we can debate that later. And obviously, look, clearly security protocols. The fact that he was able to get on that roof. And I don't even want to get into all of it because I don't even know what's true. I really don't. And we'll know more. We've all seen the story change. At first, people think it's this Antifa dude who was actually the wrong name. It was actually an Italian YouTuber. A bunch of huge accounts on X fell for that, by the way, which is very irresponsible. That's why people need to maybe just wait. Sometimes, like, look, I understand the president gets shot. You're emotional. You want to talk about it. But, like, when people with big accounts, millions and millions of followers, are clearly retweeting and amplifying fake BS, it doesn't help the situation. But look, here's the other thing. Whether you like Trump or not, voting for him or not, you can't deny that after he gets shot, the iconic image, bloody ear, bloody face, fist in the air, saying fight, 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 chanting USA. You couldn't have had a better response to something like that. It's crazy. And then also just kind of the dichotomy, the strength Trump showed there in the face of the ultimate adversity, being shot at. And then you just look at on the other side, Joe Biden, look, Joe Biden was a strong candidate 10, 15 years ago. I mean, even in 2020, he wasn't like this. Now he's soft-spoken. He can barely walk. His wife has to help him off the stage. Obama has to help him off the stage. He doesn't command the room. He doesn't command the respect that he used to. He does look old and feeble. I'm just being real. By the way, remember, I grew up a Democrat my whole life, and I'm saying these things. So the fact that you have this 81-year-old feeble man after a terrible debate performance, and then you can juxtapose that versus Donald Trump literally bleeding, fist pumping, fight, fight, fight. I mean, look, dude, it's clearly that was, it's weird to say that was a great moment for his campaign because he's freaking shot at. But again, you're talking about iconic images, an iconic response. I don't care if you like Trump or not. I mean, that response, like if you talk about patriotism and strength and USA and all that, I mean, that was amazing. It really was. So let's just be real. Let's be real. It was. And when people are saying like the election's over, I don't know. I mean, clearly it's weird. It's weird to keep talking about, hey, it was a great night for Trump's campaign when he gets shot. It's so weird to say that. But you couldn't have had a better response to it. And so with everything going wrong for Joe Biden from the debate, he's got all these interviews. Like I said, they have to switch out Joe Biden. It doesn't matter. Even if the presidential election race is over, which it may be, you still have to switch him out to have a chance down ballot. You can't just absolutely get creamed, right? You can't get destroyed. Another candidate, at least you're going to do better. You're going to have a smaller margin of whatever you want to call it, loss. You know, maybe you could still win the popular vote, lose the electoral college with somebody else. I don't know. But I think Joe Biden's going to get smoked by Donald Trump. I thought that I thought he was going to lose before the debate. I thought he was going to lose bigger after the debate. And I think after this weekend, the strength Donald Trump shows, I think it's looking like a big loss now for Joe Biden. So there you go. I think I covered everything. I'm sunburnt. So like I said, the reason I didn't jump on Saturday night, I was drunk, to be honest with you. Look how sunburned I am. And then the next day, at that point, sometimes I feel like when you have this tragedy, and this other gentleman died, by the way, this firefighter, heroic guy, jumps on his family, wife, daughter to save them, and this 50-year-old firefighter, so obviously a tragedy there. But I also sometimes, when something happens and I immediately have to run to YouTube to do a video, even though it's kind of what we do, but I feel like sometimes like you're monetizing tragedy. But that's kind of also, unfortunately, the news cycle. So anyway, basically what are we at? We're at about 13 minutes, 12 minutes, whatever it is. So there are my thoughts on the Trump assassination attempt, on J.D. Vance and RFK Jr. getting the Secret Service protection that he should have had already. I think I covered what I wanted to cover. We'll do more this week with the convention. I haven't watched any of the convention because I was driving freaking 7 hours from Ohio all day, but we'll have a bunch of shows. Eric Messersmith and I will do a couple shows probably this week to talk about the assassination attempt and also to talk about the Republican National Convention. All right, everybody, have a great week. See ya.